Hey guys, this is Kurt Chan, Technical Evangelist at Autodesk, and today I want to show you a couple of tips and tricks in regards to using Fusion 360. And with that, I want to continue on with my faucet design. If you actually missed the first segment of how I created this sculpt feature, go ahead and click at the very top link and you'll be able to see the first part to this faucet design. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Number one, what I did is, if you guys remember, I made an opening at the very bottom of the headpiece of where the nozzle might go. And the beauty about using Fusion is it's just the ability to collaborate, not only even open up multiple CAD files out there. And what you see is in my folder, my project for faucet design, I actually have multiple components I'm going to be working with here. And I want to show you just how easy it is to bring a component from another design or something you created in another file and then bring it right into Fusion 360. All you got to do is right click on the design you want, say insert, and from here it's actually going to place this guy right in. So any changes that are made, it's going to update the version right inside of the data panel here, and you have always the latest version there. So as you see here now, just dropped this design that we have of the nozzle. I'm going to go and just orientate it correctly of how I want it to be, because you notice that it's going to really sit right within this guy and kind of hopefully fit snug right in there. Now there's something key I want to show you, and this came out with our latest release. I'm going to minimize the data panel. The slick thing is if you come at the very bottom where it says viewports, if you click on that, you can actually go to multiple views. And this now gives me a quadrant of 4 different areas. So I can look at the top, front, right, and isometric. And the nice thing about this now is that I can physically zoom in and really take a look at actually positioning of seeing where this nozzle is in all relative space. So if I actually come to this bottom view, I can now grab it, translate it, rotate it, get it positioned exactly how I want it to go. If I want, I can come over here to another view, zoom right in, and we can see just like that, things are looking clean of how I want it to be. Pan right over, and really it's all about just really positioning. So you can see it's kind of not centered, and that's kind of the nice part about using the multiple view section, is I can really see what's going on in all 4 views, and things are starting to look really good here actually. Even if I zoom in on this area, it's not sticking out all the way how I like it to be. I can even just translate it up a little bit more, move it down maybe even a little further right here, how I want it to be positioned. And really it's just me kind of playing the game of how clean do I want this guy to look at the end of the day. Now I'm gonna go and just say okay and hop right back over to my viewport. One last thing before I hop over back to the original one window is you see this little monitor where it says display settings. If I click on that, I can actually change the shade for each one. So I can look at it with no hidden lines or hidden lines removed or shaded with edges, all depending on which angle or which view I'm looking at. So it actually looks super clean that way. Let me go and just go back to I think I used the wire, not the wireframe, it was actually shaded with hidden edges. There we go. And let's actually go with shaded with visible edges. That's the one I want. So now I can just, depending on which one I click, it activates that little display settings. I can change the camera view, go over here to perspective with ortho views, and I get it now exactly how I would like it to be. So just kind of zoom out, and it's starting to look actually pretty good right there. So the next phase now is just hopping back over. Let's go back to a single view. Get that guy positioned how I want it to go. And if we look now, let's go and take a look at the right view to see how this is. Go and zoom in. If we rotate around, see how there's kind of a gap in between the nozzle and the actual geometry. Since this is going to be a molded piece, and we use the sculpt environment to create the body of this faucet, I want this guy to really kind of sit nice and snug, right? Because when I kind of just industrial designed it, it was just kind of going with the flow of things. Now I actually have a component that I inserted, and it's not as perfect as I want it to be. So I'm going to show you guys a couple tricks in regards to working with the match tool, and we're going to take a look at it right down here under the modify command. Now the cool thing about this is I'm actually going to leverage the geometry of this nozzle. So if I go ahead and create a new sketch, under sketch, create a sketch. I'm actually going to just pick this top outside face, or the top face of that nozzle. Puts me in the correct orientation that I want. Now the nice thing about this, I want that geometry. So if I come down here under sketch, go to project, and we've changed this around in the latest release and say just project. It's going to take the geometry that I have selected and project it onto that plane now. So if I go in and just hide this body that I have right here, go and hide that guy and even hide the nozzle, you see how I have that geometry right there of that face I selected? Let me go and turn that body back on. And now if I rotate this guy around, which you're going to see here, if I rotate this guy around, see how I have the geometry and I can see that gap? Well, this is actually pretty slick, because if I actually come here to the bottom view now, what I want to do is kind of extend or match this outside edge to this outside profile. So if I come up here to modify, drop down to match, what I'm going to do is we'll select the T-spline edge. Well, if I double click on that outside edge, it picks up the entire loop because I have target, tangent, chain selected. Then a target edge I want to select is I'm going to select the outside of this profile just like that. And now it's going to match that outside edge to that profile that I'm working with. So if I go in and say OK, now if you look at the geometry, let me go and turn off that sketch so we can take a look at it. Now you can see just how clean that guy extends out to of how I want it to be, so it's a nice snug fit. If I turn that nozzle back on, now you can see just right there how clean that is. In general, look how clean that looks all the way around working with that match tool. So it's great to use to first start off with a sculpt design, then come in with another component, and then kind of get creative in that way. And of course, I can take that same approach at the very top for the top piece for the nozzle of using that match command. But let's go ahead and move forward now. So if we go back over to my isometric view, let's go and take a look at it. A couple things too is I'm going to have to add a couple components here, and I'll hop over to that in a second. But the thing though is this is still a T-spline body, because if I open up under bodies and I go to bodies, you can see there's no thickness to this, right? So if I go under inspect, section analysis, pick that plane to section down, you can see that there is no thickness to this T-spline. And I need to give it some thickness, right, as I add these components in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to escape out of this, and how do I add thickness to a T-spline body? Well, number one, if I right-click on the body, come down to Convert, and say OK, now I converted this guy to a workable surface rather than a T-spline body. But this surface now doesn't have any thickness still. So what I need to do is come back over to Sculpt, drop down to Model, and if I come over to, let's take a look at Create, and it's something called Thicken. So we're going to add thickness to the surface. So all I'm going to do is just select the body that I want. I'm going to key in a value, just like that. Key in that value, give it a thickness, and let it go ahead and crank that guy right out. And then what we're going to do is hop back over and take a look at and do a section analysis so we can see exactly how this guy's going to look. What is it doing specifically? It's going to add a uniform thickness all the way around of 2.25 millimeters. So if we come back over here to section analysis, grab that guy, go back to the front view, and then there we have it, because we're now going to add some components, build off of it, and create kind of a circular piece that we can screw on some of the components that sit within inside, and then design a handle as well. Let's go and take a look here. So go and cancel out of that. So you notice that this is all still one body in itself. And one thing to do is if you have just one body and you want to split it, one thing is if I just go ahead and create an offset plane here, I'm sure going to have 3 bodies, so I can just extend this guy up. Maybe I'm going to probably split it right here, because I'm going to split it at the bottom of that neck, the top, because I'm going to have 3 components that are going to be molded. We'll split it right here, and let me show you how to split this body. All it is coming over here to Modify, come down to Split Body, and now I can say what's the body to be split. This guy, what is the splitting tool? It's this plane, and it splits it right down the middle, right? So now I have two bodies that I can turn on or off, and you can see I got my component here I'll turn off as well. But if I turn on the bottom body, right, is I can now come in and add maybe a light chamfer there if I want. Right click, use press pull, and just come in and drag and just add that small chamfer at the end of the day. Even take that same approach on this edge too, doing a small chamfer to make things look really clean, because as those two kind of come together, stick with that. There we go. Now we're kind of having that. Now it's kind of taking shape, right? So as we look at it, I got my components. Talked about the match tool. Talked about splitting bodies, and as well as thickening, going from a T-spline to a B-rep to now a solid piece of geometry, a solid body that now technically I can actually right-click on this body, let's say, go here to save as STL, and if I come on over to use Mesh Mixer, now Mesh Mixer is going to launch, take that STL that I have and drop it right in Mesh Mixer, and then now you can see it's positioned, and I can now really using Mesh Mixer now come around and kind of do all the different layers, change. I'm using PLA black. Let me go with natural so we can see a little bit better, but I'm using a type A series, or even if I want, I can grab a Stratus Fortis or even a MakerBot Replicator 2. A little too big for it. Probably the type A was the best one. I can always, I'm going to close this update out, but I can always scale it to change the size. But we have a Type A printer, which is another great printer. Even the new Autodesk Ember printer. So of course it doesn't fit within that build. We want to shrink it down, and we can do all that stuff right here within Mesh Mixer in itself. So some things to kind of keep in mind. I'm going to exit out of Mesh Mixer. It's that integration between design to fabrication or prototyping, additive manufacturing. Just right there, right click with one click of a button. So let's go ahead and move forward. And what I did just to speed up time, I designed this top piece, and I want to show it to you here. Is I kind of designed this piece here to where all the components are going to sit, and all that was just a sketch and a revolve feature, and I added some threads. But I want to show you how we continuously work in adding components. So the insert components, once again, if you remember, come over here to my data panel, and all I have to do is just find the one that I want, the component that I'm working with. And the nice thing too, it doesn't matter if all this stuff was designed in Fusion or not. I can go ahead and work with maybe other team members that designed the hose portion of it, then the nozzle, and then maybe the headpiece or the handle, and we're all in this same project. And then I can just import their designs into my design, and then have mine as the master design here. So something to keep in mind about the collaboration avenue too. If I ever want to take a look at how this is or how many revisions I went through for this hose, I can just click on the little eye, and it says Open Details in A360. So if I click on that now, launches a web browser, and from there now it will bring me straight to the A360 page for this specific design right here, and brings up a 3D model. So you can just see right off the bat the process we're going through here of not only from inside of Fusion, I can just access all my designs through A360, see the collaboration. Someone else designed it, I can leave some comments here. I can move this model around, get a great pic of it, take a look at all the renderings I have. So just keep in mind, share this with somebody, drop down and say share item, and send them a link to access just this file. So just a couple things I want to show you guys in regards to not only design, but Fusion is as a portfolio of additive manufacturing, as collaboration is really key, and that's a lot of the value to the backbone of A360 and Fusion. So enough about that. I'm going to exit out. Let's talk about components, right? Inserting, right click, say insert. Go and just insert that guy right into my design. And we're going to have that guy pop right in. But now let's talk about applying the joints. And if you haven't watched any of our additional Autodesk training material for Fusion on our YouTube page, we have a whole lesson on working with joints. But let me give you a quick crash course here. I'm just going to use the trad to move this guy out. And all we're doing is just a basic move. And then now it's really coming in and saying, hey, you know what? Let me come back over here to Model, drop down, close this data panel, click the, I call it the Rubik's Cube look at the very top for Show Data Panel. And now it's just coming over to assemble, joint, and saying, well, what do I want to do? Well, I can pick this outside edge, for example, if I want. If we zoom right in to now, how do I want it to go? It's going to get positioned right here to this inside edge, and it's going to bring it right down. Go and say OK, and now that piece has been inserted. And it's just going piece by piece by piece, right? Going back to my data panel, grabbing the components that I want, close this guy up, right click on this guy, say insert geometry, and now it's going to take it and insert it right into my design. I can move this guy right out just like that and take that same approach, right? So coming back over to assemble, come down to joint. And let's talk about some of these joints. You see by default is rigid. I wanted to just walk you guys through a couple of these too. So if I click on this component on, let's say the, let's go with maybe, for example, we pick this outside component here. As we scroll through to now the inside, maybe around here. It's going to bring that guy all the way down. I can say rigid, which is just going to mate it to those faces. Cylindrical, which moves it up and down that axis. You get into revolute, which is going to rotate it along there, which gives you some great feedback. So just some key things to kind of keep in mind. I can change the rotational axis, Y, how do I want it to rotate along, which is not what I want there, but Z as well. That's the axis I want it to actually turn out of. So it depends on what you want. And from here now, what you're seeing is, go and hide that plane, is now I'm getting those components all situated. And I got to probably now design that handle at the very top and then insert it into here. But the thing about when you're designing is that sometimes you might have multiple iterations or just multiple design ideas of what you want. And that's one nice thing Fusion allows you to do. So what I did is I have this handle, just created a new document, close this guy out, is I like to go through a couple different design iterations. So for example, if I go up to box, or actually to using the sculpt command, come down, and instead of doing a box, I'm going to go with a quad ball, which is actually pretty slick. So if I click that plane, drag out, let's go with maybe, I don't know, let's go with 75 millimeters for that size, just like that. Kind of zoom out a little bit, and there's my quad box. Now, it's just manipulating things and kind of create that handle. The nice thing is that if I'm just going to go and select a couple faces, holding down the command key or the control key, right click, use edit form. Now once again, if I hold down the alt command or FN option alt, which is my, because I'm running my MacBook today, if I hold down that, it adds more geometry just like that. So I can extend that guy out to add a little bit more. Once again, I can come back over, maybe grab these faces right here, multiple, select these guys, hold down again FN alt and kind of drag out. And now I'm starting to kind of sculpt this handle that I want for my design to keep it kind of, and it's just, I'm kind of roughing things out. I can play with the triad to narrow things, make it a little bit clean, and I have one design that I like. And if I want to see different looks, all it is double clicking on that body, Command C or Control C, Command V for paste, and now I can just go through and start making multiple design changes. So let's say for now this one, I specifically want to now come in and maybe let's grab these tips, edit form, make this one a little bit narrower like that for this second design. Even grab some of these faces, for example, right? And you can just see, depending on how I want things to look. Go through another design, Command C, Command V. And this is what Fusion is great at. Quick and easy to come up with multiple design concepts. It's all about conceptual design sometimes. If I want to grab this edge, right click, try the crease command to kind of add a little bit more cleanness there. Let's see what happens here, see if it's getting the geometry that I want. And you can kind of see that kind of dimple right there at the very top. Kind of comes to a nice sharp point. And sometimes you want to see that, have that effect. Or even take some of these faces at the end of the day, and let's say if I took this face Command C this face, right click. If you guys don't know about subdivide, takes a face, breaks it up. So I have now more T-splines that I can start working with. Meaning I can grab these edges, end of the day, just command select, edit, and just really start tweaking and get a little bit, cleaner geometry if I want, just like that. So quickly going through different design iterations in that fashion. Right click if I want, go to appearance, and start, adding some different colors here that I might want to work with for metals. If we do a copper typed, look for this guy, now I have that go with a copper polished here, and then even get into nickel. So we give you all these materials you guys can work with. You can get into stainless, which is always beautiful. A lot of stuff is made out of stainless for consumer products. That one doesn't look too clean, of course, but let's go with satin. I like that. Sit here and play with this stuff forever. And even if this doesn't look too good, see, even from the reflection, that's the whole point here, man. I mean, it's coming in. Let's kind of grab that point, edit the form. We can maybe, grab this guy up, pull it back out, and have it look a little bit cleaner. And now I have some hard, clean-cut edges on this one, and then just a fatter one and a thinner one. And then now too, one thing I like is if I just want that body, this is my main one. What I did too, it's I'm going to turn off some of these other bodies, is I created a kind of a, basically what it is if I turn off this, just took a revolve feature, and basically what I'm going to do is do a Boolean operation. So the peg is going to sit within the faucet and fit all nice and snug. And you see what I'm going to do here. So if I just turn this guy back on, the original body that I was looking for, I can even grab this guy, for example, and just move it and have it positioned how I want it to go, just like that. And now come on over to Model, drop down under Modify, go to Combine. This is my target body. This is my target body. Oops, not going to join. Going to cut. Or actually, what we got to do is convert it, right? Because it's actually a surface. So come on over, right click, convert. There we go. Now I got two bodies, right? To do the combine feature, Boolean operation. Drop down to combine. This is my target. This is my tool body. I don't want to join them. I want to cut them. Say OK. And then now, see how it now created that nice feature? So now when it sits within that handle, it's going to fit all nice and snug. So with that said, hopefully this gave you guys a great look of, continuing forward on the faucet design, adding some components, using the match function within the sculpt command, as well as just doing some conceptual modeling in itself and taking a look at A360. Once again, take a look at YouTube for anything else. If you like this video, click the like button and look for more to come out. Thanks again, guys.